Right, now we're going to factorise these expressions. So this is the opposite of what we have been doing. We've been expanding brackets. You'll notice there are no brackets in this exercise. We're asked to factorise this time. When you're asked to factorise with an algebraic expression, that means to put the brackets back in. And it says each one has at least one common factor. So if we start with question 1, we consider the two terms. We're looking for a common factor between 4a and 4b. And obviously the common factor is 4. So we pull it out the front. Now I can write that expression as 4 times 4 lots of a plus b. And you just check that when you expand that bracket, you agree that you would get 4a plus 4b. Clearly the next few are quite simple. If we just remind ourselves how to do one like number 4, looking for a common factor between 3a and 6b. We always go for the greatest common factor, which in this case would be 3. 3 divides into 3 and 6. So I can write this 3 times, I'd need an a to give me the 3a term, plus, now let's think about 3 times what will give me the 6b. Obviously I'm going to need a b, and to make sure I get the 6 I need 3 times 2. You just check that you agree with that one. You can try some more of these ones. Let's see if we can find a slightly harder one. One like number 11 often trips people up. If we have a look at this and think about what the greatest common factor between 4 and 8x might be. Greatest common factor to 4 and 8 would be 4. Let's think what we could write this as. We could write this as 4 times, well obviously it has to be 1 because 4 times 1 is 4, plus 4 times 2x would ensure I get the 8x term. And I've factorised this product here. I've written it as 4 times 1 plus 2x. So one factor is 4. The other factor is inside the bracket. 1 plus 2x is the whole other factor. Most of these should be straightforward. Perhaps when we get to one like 22 we need to have a wee look, or even 21. Let's have a look at 21 and think about what is common to both terms. Well, both terms clearly have an x in them. This is 1 times x here. So let's think about how we could write this expression. We could write it as x times c will give me the xc term, plus, now to make sure I get just the 1x, what I'm going to need there is a 1. So when I expand that I'll get 1x. Number 22, clearly, what's common to both? Both terms there have an x. That first term, of course, is x times x, and this is 10 times x. So both terms have an x in them, which we could write at the front as the common factor to both terms. And then it's a matter of thinking x times what would give me the x squared, and I know I need an x because x times x will give me x squared, plus x times 10 is going to give me the 10x term. And most of the questions should be straightforward. We could have a little look at number 25, ask ourselves what's common. Clearly that both terms have an x. Remember this one is x times x. So pull the common factor out in front of the bracket. I'm going to need a 5 so that I get the 5x minus, and clearly I'm going to need an x so that the x times x will give me x squared. Now one that might be a little bit tricky is one like number 28. So if we have a look at 28 down here, it says x cubed plus x squared. Remember this here is x times x times x, and this one is x times x, x cubed plus x squared. So if we ask ourselves what they both have in common, I can see that actually this has an x squared term in it, and this has an x squared term in it as well. So at the front, the greatest common factor is actually x squared. And if we ask ourselves, what do we times by? Clearly, if I've already got x squared, I'm going to need to multiply it by another x to get the x cubed term. Now I've got the x squared, so I just need a 1 there. X cubed plus 1 lot of x squared. So just have another look at that, check you agree with it. There might be some more like that, perhaps number 31. Let's have a look at number 35. I'm asked to factorise 4x cubed plus 2x squared. So let's think about that and what the greatest common factor would be. Clearly between 4 and 2 the greatest common factor would be 2. And if we think about how many x's they've got in common, this is x times x times x, and this is x times x. I can see that once again they've both got an x squared in common. So working backwards again, 2x squared times what will get me to that? Well, I'm going to need a 2. The two 2's will give me the 4. 2 times 2. Now x squared, I need to multiply it by something else to get the x cubed term. Clearly I'm going to need an x there. And for the last term, to make sure I get 2x squared, well, I've already got 2x squared, that's all I want. So we just need a 1 to make sure. 1 times 2x squared will give me 2x squared. And you could perhaps stop after number 35, that's plenty. Now go back and try the rest of them.